Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear.
Welcome to the Queendom, H2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must.
This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message and the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me me. Unleash the dragon.
You the subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
They thought we were sleeping,
but the spirit is moving.
One weekend only lost a fox in the DHS.
Yeah.
She was playing checkers while we dealing with this mess. And it's Pretti in the street, nursed with illegal heat. Hosted in a holster, but they killed him for the feast. Restricted to the cities, call it Metropolis war. You're knocking down the Constitution on the bedroom door. AOP is split, master screaming, what's the price? Why no Luna's on the stand, yeah, she's skating on the ice.
Can I get a witness?
They stripped the bill, they removed the clause. Crockett in the room, she's following the laws. Can I get a time? Yeah, he's feeling on the floor.
They want the total search. We're coming with the feds.
Trump fire in the Chiefs while the streets are seeing red.
They want the total search. We're coming with the feds.
Trump fire in the Chiefs while the streets are seeing red. FBI senior, yeah, he dropped the bomb. Said bringing home an in is a crisis never calm. Gestapo Greg Bovino, yeah, he's heading for the gate. Ellison is smiling while the judges pass the fate. Not credible, they said, yeah, he lied under the low. Trying to lock the Tata City low. Won't sit in the goal, the rule resistance, persistence. To wait to the left, unlikely alleys fighting back against the state sponsor death. Rise up!
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I am back with another video. So we got some more things we got to get into today, y'all. Child, it never ends. It never ends. But anyway, hope seems to be at the forefront. Things seem to be taking a pretty good turn. With a lot of things that are happening in the political sector, and in our United States government, and some geopolitical government as well. We've been seeing a lot of these things play out for what the past few months now, and your girl Golden is going to report on it right here for y'all. So we got some more things to get back into. Let's go ahead and do our welcome. So it is about 4:03 p.m. here, Eastern time in the Carolinas in the United States. And it's pretty decent, outside. It's still cold, but the sun is shining. It's not as cold as it has been. So that's a good thing. And it's been a pretty chaotic day, but we make it through, right? That is just life sometimes, child. We go through our ups and downs, and things sometimes can get a little bit crazy, but we power through it, and we come out on the other side. And I say that, and that could not ring more than true when it comes to a lot of what we're seeing here in the political sector and the government stuff. So, we have to keep our faith strong, and we have to keep our hope alive that everything is going to be okay. It's going to work out. Sometimes it just don't seem like that while things is going down, but it will. It really will. But anyway, y'all, I hope you guys are having a great day in whatever respectful time zone it is that you're in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I hope your day has been a good one and is still going good for you. But we're going to go ahead and get into a few of these topics on today's live, y'all. So let's just talk about it, y'all. We're going to break down the chaos, the betrayal, and the gold medal of lies. Okay, so first on the docket, we have to talk about, which is disgusting, this assault on Representative Ilhan Omar. The attack on the evening of January 27, 2026, during a packed town hall in North Minneapolis, 55-year-old Anthony Kazaramikzak, I don't even think I'm saying his name right, rushed the podium and sprayed Representative Omar with a syringe with some type of foreign liquid. Witnesses described a foul vinegar like chemical smelling odor. The attack occurred literally seconds after Omar called for impeachment of Kristi Noem. Refusing to be intimidated, Omar stayed on the stage declaring these being a-holes aren't going to get away with it, and continued taking questions for another 30 minutes. I have that video to show you guys. I love her energy when it comes to that. But hours after mocking Omar at a Iowa rally, President Trump responded to the assault by basically suggesting she staged the incident. Wow. Then we're going to go ahead and get into Trump's White House and freefall. The Miller-Noem Civil War. The administration is fracturing. Secretary Kristi Noem is reportedly leaking to the press, blaming Stephen Miller for the domestic terrorist rhetoric that fueled the backlash over Alex Pretti's unaliving. In a move signaling a massive loss of influence, Miller was excluded from a private 2-hour emergency meeting between Trump and Noem on January 26. With Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino being removed from the Minneapolis operation, many see Miller as the next domino to fall as the White House tries to de-escalate the Operation Cluster, in Minnesota. Then we're also going to get into a little bit more about Kristi Noem and something that was said by famous comedian D.L. Hughley, who called her the gold medalist of lying. Comedian D.L. Hughley went viral for branding Noem the gold medalist of lying, specifically calling out her claims that this pow-powing victim, Alex Pretti, was brandishing a weapon. A leaked CBP watchdog report has since confirmed that Pretti never even drew his pow weapon and was tackled while it was still holstered. This direct contradiction is fueled in the impeachment fire, with over 160 House Democrats and even some Republicans, like Lisa Murkowski, they're now calling for Kristi Noem's head. We also will be getting into the NRA and their silent retreat, cowardice under pressure. The NRA is facing a PR nightmare because this victim, Alex Pretti, was a legal concealed carry holder, the group's usual good guy with a pow. The narrative clashing with their loyalty to Trump's administration is becoming very questionable. And here are the double standards. Critics are slamming the NRA for cowering and refusing to defend the Second Amendment rights of a citizen that was pow by federal agents, proving their advocacy as a political cutoff point. So we'll be getting into all of that on this live this evening, y'all. And per usual, we'll have some videos and some audio that I'm going to show you guys. I hope y'all like my intro song when we came in. I think it went kind of hard. I like the beat of that song. But anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and get into our first coverage, okay? So let me go ahead and get all of this set up for you guys. We are going to get into how this NRA is cowering in the face of threat. And again, y'all, none other than Reese Waters is going to be the one that's going to bring this to the forefront for us all to hear and listen to. If you guys have not subscribed to Reese Waters' channel or checked out any of his videos, please do so right away. It is a great platform. The videos that he makes, he adds a lot of politics, intellect, and comedy all included in one maybe 30 to 40 minute sit down. I wish I could keep my numbers that low, y'all know I talk a lot. But y'all, if y'all have not checked out Reese Waters, please check him out. He's a really, really decent person with a lot of great integrity, and his commentary on this political stuff couldn't be further from the truth. And we get a nice dose of comedy with it as well. So let me go ahead and get this up on the stage for y'all real quick. And we'll get into this video. And we can listen together, y'all, and see exactly what is happening. But basically, this report in this video here is the NRA cowers in the face of threat. Reese Waters says, NRA, where are you at? These aren't even Black victims you're ignoring this time. Prominent Republicans and gun right advocates helped elicit a White House turnabout this week after bristling over the administration's characterization of Alex Pretti, the second person who was unalived this month by a federal officer in Minneapolis, as responsible for his own unaliving because he lawfully possessed a weapon. The unalived produced no clear shift in U.S. gun politics or policies, even as President Donald Trump shuffles the lieutenants in charge of his militarized immigration crackdown. But important voices in Trump's coalition have called for a thorough investigation of Pretti's unaliving, while also criticizing inconsistencies in some Republicans' Second Amendment stances. If the dynamic persists, it could give Republicans problems as Trump heads into a midterm election year, with voters already growing skeptical of his overall immigration approach. The concern is acute enough that Trump's top spokesman sought Monday to reassert his brand as a staunch gun rights supporter. What do y'all think? I don't see it. But let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. And again, those are the words from Reese Waters. So let's go ahead and play some of this video here. And I'm going to let y'all see how he breaks it down so smooth. Let's get into it.
Today, there's a report of an ICE officer getting his finger bit off. And then, unfortunately, a deranged individual that came in to cause max damage with a loaded pistol with an extra mag that was completely loaded was shot and killed. How much more does this got to go on before the Democrat leaders there take responsibility for their words?
Hey, NRA, what's that about? What's that about? Being a gun owner? That's crazy. That's crazy. I can't imagine him showing up to one of the, you see all these loaded magazines? You see, I should have zoomed. Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and this is Racist of the Week, where we explore the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union and also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And of course, if you have any nominees, you can drop them in the comments. You can email me at admin@reesewaters.com. Today's nominee, the NRA.
If starting a dropshipping business didn't feel so
Hey, why you got your shoes off? I said the NRA. National Ring Toe Advocates. Why it's always about feet with y'all? No, the National Rifle Association. And you know what? I got something y'all should see.
It's like Call of Duty. So cool, huh?
It's like Call of Duty. Pretty cool, huh? Because it's a game to them. Here in Nashville in 2024, we had 8 Nazi marches come through town, marched right by my apartment in one of them. Last year, there were none because all of these are working, guess where? Neon, KKK, the Proud Boys. This is where they all are, treating this like it's a game. Like it's a game.
And if you dispute her assertions, feel free to look at the recruiting documents and all of the literature that's been pushed out by DHS to recruit for ICE. What's that? It was the military. It was the gun range and NASCAR. That's where we're getting our patriots. It's like Call of Duty. That's the level of discretion we're talking about right here. And it stands to reason why they're coming for Kristi Noem's head, because they might mistake her for a muskrat or something. But I can get why she rocked with them, because that's the same mentality she takes towards her ranch at home. It's like Call of Duty. So, NRA, in a scenario where you have a force with wide sweeping powers that's pushing forward with a low bar to entry, that's saying things like it's like Call of Duty, naturally the Second Amendment would be something that you would want to advocate for at a time like this. Now, wouldn't it? It looks like the right-wing narrative is now that ICE is allowed to kill American citizens if they legally own a firearm. From the president, this is the gunman's gun loaded with 2 additional full magazines and ready to go. What is all that about? Where are the local police? Why weren't they allowed to protect ICE officers? Yada, 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 Ilhan Omar, fraud, and illegal aliens. I think he said something about the size of his rallies in there too, and they're eating cats and dogs. And we heard similar rhetoric from Kristi Noem. That's right. She's so full of vice, we had to hear it twice.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic
handgun.
The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
NRA, what was it? Huh? You like me watching the NFL playoffs, waiting for Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen to step in? Like, is this really what we're gonna do for the Super Bowl? This is it? Wow, NRA, and because this is MAGA and there's always a video. Here is Kristi Noem supporting the Second Amendment. You know, when all of the money exchanging hands was working properly.
Because I wanted to talk about how the Constitution guarantees us the individual's right to keep and bear arms. And that's why I strongly support the Second Amendment. This right isn't abstract to me. It's part of my family's heritage and it's my state's culture. I'm a gun owner, a member of the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus. I'll continue to fight and defend this right for the people of South Dakota and for our way of life. You know, the Second Amendment has been described in many different ways over the years, but some of those are such as it is there to support our natural rights of self-defense. It's there for resistance of oppression. It even was described as a civic duty to act in concert to defense in the defense of the state. These are all reasons that we need to make sure that we're continuously talking about the benefits of this right, what it means to mothers and fathers who are protecting their families, and what it means to us growing up in a country where people sacrificed, bled, and died to protect the rights that we have.
And you know what? Because it's just so much fun to dump. Dunk on Kristi Noem's head, another one.
Why do the liberals and Joe Biden want our guns? Because it will make it easier for them to infringe on all of our other rights.
She called all y'all cowards. She called all y'all cowards. Let me get this straight. She took y'all support, sat there and said all them words. And now she's head of an agency pushing into people's homes with no warrant. And when somebody ends up dead, blaming them for being a gun owner. She called all y'all out like a straight duel. And we're not doing the slapping with the gloves neither. No, this at high noon. And because it's so much fun just to showcase MAGA's just blatant hypocrisy. Mark Wayne, you want to come on down? I know. I love the two names. I do.
About it. Today, there's a report of an ICE officer getting his finger bit off. And then, unfortunately, a deranged individual that came in to have to cause max damage with a pistol with an extra mag that was completely loaded, was shot and killed. How much more does this got to go on before the Democrat leaders there take responsibility for their words?
Hey, NRA, what's that about? What's that about? Being a gun owner? That's crazy. That's crazy. I can't imagine him showing up to one of the, you see all these loaded magazines? You see, I should have zoomed. I knew better to come down here. Hey, Mark Wayne, is that the energy you had for this? Was that your energy? It's a lot more where that came from. Now, what was that Kristi Noem said? You know what? Let's sprinkle a couple of raisins in the potato salad to make the work even nastier. Then comes the letter that Pam Bondi sent about voter registration information. Oh, so apparently this isn't about law and order and immigration after all. What was that y'all said about rights? Two plausible but equally alarming explanations for demanding voter records. They intend to tamper with the 26 midterms, and this is a tool, or they want a list of Kamala Harris voters for intimidation purposes.
The Attorney General of the United States yesterday sent a letter to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz that was breathtaking. And I want to read part of what she wrote. Some of the demands that she has for the governor: share all of Minnesota's records on Medicaid and food and nutrition service programs, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program data, with the federal government. Allowing the federal government to efficiently investigate fraud will save Minnesota taxpayers money. Goes on to say, allow the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to access voter rolls to confirm that Minnesota's voter registration practices comply with federal law as authorized by the Civil Rights Act of 1960. That, to me, is among many things in this letter, very significant, because the president has said on multiple occasions that he believes he won Minnesota in all three elections that he ran in, even though that is not the case.
Jonathan, it's absolutely outrageous. One of the things the federal government is supposed to do is to show deference to separate sovereigns, that is state governments, a respect for their role, a respect for the federal government role, and from time to time requests to work together. But what this strikes me as is the same kind of extortionate language we've seen from President Trump when he sent letters to law firms and universities and even the media demanding that they comply with his demands. What he does and what this seems to be doing is we are going to inflict pain on you. And until you agree to our demands, we're going to keep the pain there. But there's a way out for you. We could do this the hard way or the easy way. And the easy way would be for you just to give us what we are demanding and that which we are otherwise not entitled to. This is an abuse of federal power. And it seems that this threat of violence, of keeping dangerous agents on the streets where people will be killed because of poor training or this show of force. And it's going to continue unless and until you, Minnesota, comply with our demands.
Oh, yeah. They just went and threw a cold bucket of orange bronzer on anybody that was trying to legitimize Alex Pretti's death right there. Or this mission from ICE in Minnesota in general. They just went into orange bronzer. I didn't know it came in orange neither. Not till 2016. I had no idea. So that is where we're at. And meanwhile, where are my 2A warriors at?
Switch to TurboTax and file your own taxes free in the app if you didn't file with us last year.
Yeah, fucking political. That was murder. An ICU nurse who worked at the VA who was legally carrying a firearm that was holstered while he was filming, who is now being painted as a domestic terrorist because he took a gun to a protest. But all these 2A a couple years back were screaming Kyle Rittenhouse's name from the rooftops. Oh, that was different. Yeah, you're right. He had a rifle strapped to his chest. The man who was shot and murdered by ICE was concealed carrying a firearm that he was legally allowed to have. I am now seeing reports that it's even possible that they disarmed him by taking his weapon out of his holster that was at his 6 o'clock, and then they mag dumped the guy. So if you are legally carrying a firearm and they take that off of your person and then utilize that as a justification to put rounds in your back while you're laying face down on the pavement, then it was never about following the law. The Second Amendment doesn't matter anymore. And you're so where's all
Child, okay, so we're watching some of this footage now that we see, and I think that the footage that we're seeing and the commentary that's being made is necessary. I appreciate it. I'm glad that people are finally getting it. And I don't want to be that type of person. I really don't. But I think that every now and then we do need to remind people that you see the passion and the anger and the upset that this man has in this clip right now. This is a lot of the passion and the anger and the upset that a lot of Black people have been having for a very, very long period of time. And not even just Black, other races as well, outside of the Caucasian race. And when we get angry and we take to our TikToks or our Facebooks or our Instagrams or our YouTubes to explain these things and say, look, this is what happened to a Black person. Look how unwarranted it was. We are angry. We're upset. We are frustrated. This did not deserve to happen. I just hope now we're getting to a place where it comes to us as a people, as a human race, that we understand together now that anger, that feeling that is deep inside, that has to come out when we see these injustices happening. And we have to bear witness to them by watching them on the TV or the news station, or maybe it's a, independent person who captured it on their cell phone and posted it on their social media platform. And we watch these things, and not even just when it comes to media, sometimes we stand on the streets and see it in raw time, just like those people saw. And I'm not saying that it's right for anybody to have to experience that or witness that or go through that. But what I'm saying is I just hope that we are moving forward as a people where we're getting to a point where we understand with any human being, despite their race, this is never okay to watch these things play out. and see these things happening. And one of the people who have been trying to show and speak and explain to other people for a very, very long time what it's like to watch that with your bare eyes, what it's like to record that on your cell phone, what it's like to see that on the news station. It hurts. It hurts and it tears you to pieces because it never should happen. It's not right. But we're seeing now there is, an uptick of people that, they're starting to feel bad about these things, and rightfully so. But it's just like, sometimes I ask myself in the back of my mind, would you feel that way if it was a Black person? Would you feel that way if it was a Hispanic person? Would you have that same level of anger in your body, in your system, that same level of outrage? Because we never seem to see people having that same level of outrage when it happens to Black people or Spanish people or Asian people. And I don't want to divide the conversation here, y'all. I don't want to make it uncomfortable for people, because I understand people get uncomfortable when they hear conversations happen like this. And this is not what my whole entire conversation is based on. I'm just, inserting every now and then after the things that we are watching together. And I'm just telling y'all what I know to be true. It has been multiple accounts now that we have seen Black, African-American people or Hispanic people pow down in the streets, in their homes when they were calling for help. And we've watched that on videotape for over however long we've been seeing it happen, because it happens a lot in our community towards Black people or Spanish people or Asian people or other races of people. It's more often happening to those races of people, but now that it's happening to Caucasian people that, like they said, do not deserve it. And I absolutely agree with that. They did not deserve that. No one ever deserves that, despite your race and your skin tone and your color. But it seems that we live in a world and society where it's almost, you just walk down the street and you turn a blind eye when it happens to certain races of people, because it's almost to be expected that it's supposed to happen to them. But when it happens to Caucasian people, now everybody stop the presses. We got to talk about this. This is a serious matter. We got to fix it. This is wrong. This should not be happening. It should never happen. And this is all we've been trying to say as Black people. And so if there's anybody out there that's listening, and if you agree with me, if you understand where I'm coming from with this, I mean no harm when I say it. I just know that we're in a place now that things are moving really nasty work-like. And now we finally get to have these hard conversations. And I hope that we can have them with one another with love in our heart when we talk about it. Because there's no, oh, this is what they get. Oh, this is what they deserve. No, I would never say that or feel that way, because that's not how I move and I operate. No human being deserves to be treated like this. These things should not be happening to any of us. It doesn't matter. Like I said, our race, our skin tone, our ethnic background, our sexual preference, our gender identity. None of that matters. We are human at the end of the day. We don't deserve to be treating each other like this or being treated like this at the hands of any organization, group, or entity. And we don't need to do each other this way either. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I just wanted to bring that to the forefront, because I see the outrage, and it's like, where was this outrage? We weren't seeing as much of this outrage when it was happening to other races of people. That's all I'm going to say. And again, not everybody. There were people that were outraged. There were people that were upset that were from other races and other nationalities and backgrounds and countries and things of that nature, that can see and bear witness to these things and know that it's not right for it to happen to anybody. They feel the same way I do, and they always have, and they always will. And so I will always give people respect for that, because I know that there's people out there that feel that way. But then there's some, the sleeper cell, that have been in that sleeper cell for a very long period of time now. And it seems like they've been rattled and shaken up almost now because it's starting to hit home. Y'all understand what I'm saying when I'm saying these things? I don't mean it to be offensive to anybody. I'm just telling the truth. When it's not bothering you or your people, it's not an issue. But when it starts to hit home, now people seem to start to feel a certain type of way. But respectfully, these could be people that have felt this way no matter what race, no matter what, identity or anything like that people are, whatever differences we all may have. These could be people that would have been equally mad when they seen what happened to George Floyd. These could be people that were equally mad when they seen what happened to Sonya Massey. These could be people that were equally mad when they seen what happened to Trayvon Martin. These could be people that could be equally mad when they seen what happened to Breonna Taylor, right? And the list can go on and on and on. It should never happen to any of us. But let's get back into the video.
Don't tread on me two-way, gun-toting, boot-licking tards. Or is it just when it's not on your side? So I'm done playing the middle ground. I'm done making first aid videos that just might help, that can be seen by both sides. Trump, ICE, we are not mad enough.
Now, mind you, it's not like I'm asking y'all to come out in defense of Keith Porter or anything like that. We know what it is when it comes to us and guns. That's really the only time you've ever supported regulations is when we showed up to the gun range. Keith Porter. Keith. Of course you ain't heard of him.
Last week, a man named Keith Porter was killed by an off-duty ICE agent, but you probably haven't heard his name. And while part of that may be because of the ICE agent being off-duty rather than on-duty with a large crowd, we also know the biggest reason why this exists. Keith Porter is a Black man, and Black men, Black women that get killed by agents, officers don't get the same amount of national attention. Many people online have been very angry at me and other Black people for saying not to use the phrase "say her name" when it comes to Renee Good. And this is part of the reason. It has taken 7 days for the average person, and not even the average person, but for people online to find out about Keith Porter, while most people across the country know who Renee Good is within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, people have started marching for her. They have been sharing the stories of her families. They have been talking about her, sharing posts of her, memorializing her, making sure that she is known. Meanwhile, Keith Porter's family, they've been struggling to get into the news cycle. They've been struggling to have any conversation. And the same defense that ICE agents are using to justify killing Good is the same defense they're using for justifying killing Porter. They say that he had a weapon and that he pointed it at them first, despite the fact that nobody on the scene concurred that, aside from the officer who shot him.
But at the end of the day, this is racist of the week now, isn't it? And there's a reason why I chose this particular platform, because it's not about you guys defending 2A and the toothlessness of all of your rhetoric. It's when you decide to pop up and when you don't.
Well, ICE has murdered another American citizen in Minneapolis. As old Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. I really do. Please forgive if there's wind noise. Alex Pretti did nothing wrong. He was just filming. Video shows he had a camera in one hand, nothing in the other. He was exercising his right as an American citizen to carry a concealed weapon, but he never touched it. He never touched it. And before they shot him, they took it from him. They murdered him on the ground in the streets of Minneapolis. Now, I've been digesting this all day long in the hopes of coming up with something unique to say. But I can't. It's the same old shit. MAGA is ICE. And MAGA and their Second Amendment shit has always been just that, shit. It's never been about American citizens protecting themselves against a tyrannical government. It's always been about arming white supremacists. That's what it's always been about for MAGA. And you know it because they're out there on social media right now joining in the chorus, because our government is slandering and libeling Alex Pretti. They're calling him a dangerous terrorist because he was exercising his Second Amendment right. Never touched his gun, only filmed. They beat the shit out of him and shot him on the street, and our government is slandering and libeling him. And MAGA are joining in the chorus. We are not the same. We are not the same. Democrats have always stood up for the Constitution. Hell, Democrats have always stood up for children. Who's screaming for the release of the Epstein file? Democrats. Republicans don't want to see them. They found out cult daddy's in there. Oh, no, they don't want to see that shit anymore. Them kids. Even though never stop kids. And they know it.
Now, NRA, you can feel free to prove me, that gentleman, and everybody else dragging y'all on the timeline wrong. I mean, other people have. From the National Association for Gun Rights, thousands of Americans have gathered across the country to support Second Amendment rights, some openly and some concealed, armed without incident. Hundreds in Virginia just last week. The mere presence of a firearm is not evidence of criminal intent. Anyone who claims to be pro-gun should never suggest otherwise. Gun owners do this peacefully every time a blue state tries to pass gun control. NAGR, they go by Nagger. I don't like that. We're going to go with NAGR. I was rocking with you. You ain't have to. What blue states got to do with this? What blue? Make your point, and keep it pushing. Hey, trying to, you know what I mean? Trying to congratulate them, and then you go, we gotta make sure we throw something in. But
all right, y'all. So we have reached the 43-minute mark. So we're gonna go ahead and take a quick song break. After this song break, we will finish the rest of the commentary here from Reese Waters, of course, and then we will move into the rest of the topics that we have for the live today, y'all. So I will meet y'all over in the comments. If y'all like to meet me over there in the chat, let's take this song break and we'll be right back.
The vision, the mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison, got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mighty even the sword. So we teaching about their history, teaching about their grace, teaching about the power, every single face.
We are human, blood and bone and soul. With the right to be made, the right to be
truth is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word.
A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease.
This ain't just a track, it's a call to action. For every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter. Tell them their spirit's something to know like a shadow. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We're gonna grow in this field. Yeah. Oh, yes we are. We got you there.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get back into the video. That was just a quick little song break. I hope y'all like that song. But I hope you was also listening to the words of the song, because when I wrote it, it's literally what I think and what I feel. Like, we are human. That's it. Our fundamental needs, our fundamental wants as human beings, despite our differences, are all the same. It's always all the same. And so we got to just start looking at each other as human beings and not really paying attention to the differences. You know what I mean? We got to get past that. When do we get past that? But anyway, let's get back into the video.
NRA, you got Nagger out here staking out the ground that y'all claim to occupy. And where y'all at? Oh, they say something? Here we got one. In response to FA U.S. Attorney Bill Hughley, if you approach law enforcement with a gun, there's a high likelihood they will be legally justified in shooting you. Don't do it. To which, from the NRA, this sentiment from the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California is dangerous and wrong. Responsible public voices should be awaiting a full investigation, not making generalizations and demonizing law-abiding citizens.
Pouring more into social and search, they've just realized that it brings less with every.
Okay, NRA, that's like a baby lamb. That's like a baby lamb step. Okay, they walked it back. For months, radical progressive politicians like Tim Walz have incited violence against law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their jobs. Unsurprisingly, these calls to dangerously interject oneself into legitimate law enforcement activities have ended in violence, tragically resulting in injuries and fatalities. As there is with any officer-involved shooting, there'll be a robust and comprehensive investigation that takes place to determine if the use of force was justified. As we await these facts and gain a clear understanding, we urge the political voices to lower the temperature to ensure their constituents and law enforcement officers stay safe. Do you think whoever posted that first tweet that adhered to all of their stated virtues got fired? You think they got fired? They will. What are we doing? Standing on business? That's crazy. They talking about a robust investigation after we saw mass resignations in the aftermath of Renee Good because there was no investigation, and Minnesota is having to sue because of evidence that was destroyed in the case of Alex Pretti. They talking about a robust investigation. Then want to take shots at Tim Walz and radical progressive politicians while a man lies dead who did nothing, who is supposed to be one of their constituents. Now you see exactly who they are and where they stand. And there's a reason that they got ate up in the comments. I wonder how many times you said shall not be infringed before this administration started infringing. Pathetic statement from a pathetic organization. An NRA accidentally forgets to rise up against tyrannical government. An embarrassed National Rifle Association says it totally forgot to do the one thing it has been saying for years. It is solely their to do. And what's that, NRA? All this time you claimed you were here to protect citizens from a tyrannical government when really you were just here to profit off of death. Boot-looking frauds who believe in nothing. Pathetic. Oh, it's way more where that came from. Y'all got ate up. It's okay when they provoke because they are protected by the First Amendment. It's okay when they bring guns to protest because they are protected by the Second Amendment, but it's never okay when the rest of us do those things. Isn't that interesting? I legitimately would be embarrassed for y'all if this wasn't such a serious infraction. Like if this wasn't so disgraceful, I would be embarrassed for you. So from y'all, anytime we see any type of mass shooting, preserving the right to bear arms, when we see a legitimate atrocity, we get to hear from the NRA. But in a moment, one of theirs lies dead and is demonized just for being a gun owner. We get attacks at radical politicians, Tim Walz, and let's wait for an investigation we know will never come, headed by Kristi Noem. Sad ain't the word. Gun rights groups and legal experts question Trump administration's stance on the Second Amendment after shooting. Claims by the Trump administration officials that the man fatally shot by a federal agent in Minneapolis lacked a right to possess a firearm and that his killing was justified are being dismissed by legal experts and assailed by gun rights groups ordinarily aligned with the president. The rhetoric from Trump law enforcement officials, including his FBI director and the top Border Patrol agent, goes against the decades-long GOP effort to throttle gun control rules. Well, at least somebody said something. You got the people out here doing the work, using basic logic and reason, while y'all collect all these donations to hide behind whatever Trump wants to do and say. And that is never a safe place to be. We have seen how pick me works with Trump. Matter of fact, hey, NRA, y'all see about the call he did with Walz? Now all of a sudden they want to de-escalate. Now all of a sudden they want to de-escalate after all of that rhetoric that they had said previously. Meanwhile, y'all showed y'all whole. I asked militiamen who attended Monday's Second Amendment rally armed in Richmond, Virginia, how they felt about the shooting of Alex Pretti yesterday. I've been open carrying at rallies since 2019. There's zero difference between this man carrying his firearm at a protest than me or my boys carrying at a protest. The First and Second Amendments do not stop where politics and opinions differ. Hey, somebody call the NRA. They still hiding? My take on the situation, the ICE shooting that occurred yesterday was not justified in my view. The man who was killed was lawfully carrying, was recording the operation, and
so think of it as like a TV ad with a catalog component where
seen helping a woman who had been pushed to the ground. None of those actions justified a lethal response from federal agents. Exercising the right to film law enforcement and the legal right to carry a firearm should not cost someone their life. ICE escalated when they should have de-escalated, and accountability is needed. You know how embarrassing it is when you have individual people coming out and stating the thing that your whole reputation and brand is based around while you hide. You know who really needs to see this is all of those militiamen and all the people out, what they said about the send this to Nagger. Because we might have a let them fight situation a little while later. Hey, we got a let them fight situation going on right now, because that's the thing. When it comes to this administration, they will continue to push the bounds of good sense, of true and false, of information and misinformation until you break. It's your choice where you decide to get off.
All
destroy Alex Pretti's reputation with bullshit accusations.
My name is Frederick Pogue. I was a corporal in the United States Marine Corps Reserves.
Matt Gordon, Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. I was in from 2002 to 2011, and I am a patient at the Syracuse VA.
Anthony Robinson, E5, United States Marine Corps.
My name is Curtis Register. I was a major in the United States Marine Corps, serving from 2011 to 2021. The Manchester VA system and its nurses helped save my life.
Kristen Cravens Hutton, United States Army, Corporal.
David Hutton, Sergeant First Class, retired Army.
Melissa Corrigan, United States Navy, Petty Officer Second Class. I want to talk about Alex Pretti.
The man shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis this morning.
He was a nurse with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs.
Alex took pride in taking care of his veterans.
All of us are gutted by his death.
Whether you knew Alex Pretti or not, every veteran who knows VA nurses should be outraged by his killing.
And that's why we as veterans must speak up.
Because already Trump and his goons are trying to destroy Alex Pretti's reputation with bullshit accusations.
White House aide Stephen Miller is trying to smear Alex Pretti as a domestic terrorist.
I am enraged by the death of Alex Pretti. And let's call it what it is, the unwarranted killing of not just an American we swore to defend,
but of a man who dedicated his life to our care.
A life cut short by authoritarian brutality.
To every veteran,
to every American, don't let Trump and Miller dishonor the life of Alex Pretti and his service to America's veterans.
They took his life. Don't let them take his name.
And shout out to those veterans for calling it what it is.
On Saturday, all of us witnessed from multiple angles federal agents murder Alex Pretti. In the days since, we have had to listen to the ghouls in this administration tell us that what we saw with our own eyes is not what we saw, telling us not to believe our own lying eyes. Others in this administration have taken this opportunity to say that because Mr. Pretti was legally carrying a firearm, a constitutional right given to him by the United States Constitution, a right that he has as a Minnesotan, that he deserved to die, that was reason enough for him to be executed. Now, I have been a gun owner my entire life. I shoot competitively. I carry on occasion because it is my right as an American and my right as a Mainer. And to watch people in a party that for years has screamed about protecting the Second Amendment, to turn around and say that because this man had a holstered legal firearm, he deserved to be murdered by federal agents, is the height of hypocrisy and the height of unconstitutional behavior. We watched that video and then we consider they did. I mean, it makes me emotional. It also makes me incredibly angry. This is an...
All right, y'all. So we're going to take a quick pause because I wanted to show y'all something else that I did come across that I don't know if you guys have seen. I'm pretty sure you haven't. And, you know, when it comes to us speaking about these things, it's not just because of the injustices. Okay. Let me say like this. We know that injustices are happening. They're happening to human beings, period. We understand that. But we also understand that for a very long period of time, injustices have been happening to a certain demographic and race of people where the same, like I said before, and like y'all heard me say, outrage and coverage has not been brought to the forefront. So I want y'all to listen to this story real quick. I want y'all to remember what we just heard about all of the people that have been speaking and making statements about what has happened, not to take away from what has happened to these people, but I want to add y'all in just a little bit more sugar in the Kool-Aid, because I want y'all to understand that when there's sometimes different responses coming, you know, in different directions from, let's just say it, Black people, this is the reason why. And I want y'all to listen to this and I want y'all to compare. And y'all let me know what y'all think. And I think a lot of this you will not even know. You won't know about at all. But let me go ahead and play it for you real quick.
Trayvon Martin continues to draw national attention. Today, we look at another controversial shooting of an African-American male that has received far less scrutiny. On the morning of November 19th, a 68-year-old former Marine named Kenneth Chamberlain with a heart condition accidentally pressed a button on his medical alert system while sleeping. Responding to the alert, police officers from the city of White Plains, New York, arrived at Chamberlain's apartment in a public housing complex shortly after 5 a.m. By the time the police left the apartment, Kenneth Chamberlain was dead, shot twice in the chest by a police officer inside his home. Police gained entry to Chamberlain's apartment only after they took his front door off its hinges. Officers first shot him with a taser, then a beanbag shotgun, and then with live ammunition.
Police have insisted the use of force was warranted. They said Kenneth Chamberlain was emotionally disturbed and had pulled a knife on the officers. This is David Chung, Public Safety Commissioner in White Plains.
The officers first used an electronic taser, which was discharged, hit the victim, and had no effect. While the officers were retreating, the officers then used a shotgun, a beanbag shotgun.
Relatives of Kenneth Chamberlain have questioned the police portrayal of events that led to his death. And they say audio and video recorded at the scene back up their case. According to the family, Kenneth Chamberlain can be heard on an audio recording of his call to the medical alert system operator saying, quote, "Please leave me alone. I'm 68 with a heart condition. Why are you doing this to me? Can you please leave me alone?" Officers allegedly responded by calling Chamberlain a racial slur while urging him to open the door. The audio recording of the incident has not been made public and remains in the possession of the Westchester District Attorney's Office. In early December, Kenneth Chamberlain, a retired Marine, was buried with military honors. The family posted video of part of the ceremony. Several months after his death, the name of the officer who killed Kenneth Chamberlain has yet to be released. The DA has vowed to convene a grand jury to determine if any of the officers should face charges. We invited the White Plains Police Department and the Westchester DA's office onto the program, but they declined to join us or issue a comment. But we are joined by Kenneth Chamberlain Jr., the son of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., the victim, and by two of the family's attorneys. Mayo Bartlett is the former chief of Bias Crimes Unit of the Westchester County District Attorney's Office and the former chair of the Westchester County Human Rights Commission. Randolph McLaughlin is a longtime civil rights attorney. He teaches at Pace Law School. We welcome you all to Democracy Now! Our condolences to your family, Kenneth Chamberlain, on the death of your father. Tell us what you understand happened early in the morning of November 19th.
Well, it's my understanding that, from what I've gathered right now, that my father accidentally pushed his medical pendant around his neck. He could have possibly turned over on it. We don't know. We can only speculate about that.
Why did he wear it?
He has a heart condition, and he also suffered from COPD. And when the pendant was triggered,
you're holding that
yes,
in his hand.
This is his pendant right here. It was triggered, and the medical company, there's a box inside his home. The medical company asked him if he was all right. They didn't get a response. So automatically, if you don't get a response, they send medical services to your house. Inform the police that they are responding to a medical emergency, not a crime. And once they arrived at my father's home, my father did tell them that he was okay, but for some reason they wanted to gain entry into my father's home. I don't know why. And in the audio, you hear my father telling them that he's fine.
Now,
he's okay.
this is an important point, that there was audio going on throughout this between the firm and your father.
Correct.
And so much of the activity of the police was caught on this audio.
Yes, it was.
So the box on the wall records everything.
It's actually a box that just sat on his table in his dining room area. It just sat there, and it's connected to the phone company. So if he does trigger it, as I said, you hear a loud beeping noise, and then the operator from their central station will come on, and they say, "Mr. Chamberlain, are you okay? You triggered your alarm. Is everything all right?" And of course, if they don't get a response, they then contact.
Now you were able to hear this audio because the DA's office allowed you to hear it. How did you?
Yes.
But it has not yet been released.
No, it hasn't.
So continue. You hear your father through the door telling the police he's okay. This is about 5 a.m.
Yes. He's saying that he's okay. He's saying that he did not call for them. But they were very insistent. They were banging on the door, banging on the door, banging on the door. So you hear one of the officers say to him, "Well, you triggered your alarm now." He said, "That's because I want you to leave me alone." And they just kept telling him, open the door, let us see that you're all right. At some point, the door was cracked open because the police officers have a taser that has a camera on it, and it also has audio. So you could see where the door was cracked open. So once you've gotten a visual and you've seen that my father is okay, and he's telling you that he's okay, why would you still insist on getting into the apartment? Which is the question that I have. And they weren't responding to a crime. He was sleeping and accidentally triggered his alarm.
And the officers then did what?
Ultimately, after using expletives and racial slurs, they broke down the door. You can see on the video from the taser that they fired the taser at him. And I'm assuming that both prongs didn't go in. He stood about maybe 8 to 10 feet away from them with his hands down to his side. And at one point, you hear one of the officers say, "Cut it off." And it was at that point they shot and killed my father.
They shot him with beanbag also?
Well, we didn't see that. So I can't confirm or deny that.
Did you hear what the police officers were saying, were shouting to him before they took? Did they take the door off the hinges?
They took it completely off the hinges.
To get in?
Yes. There were no orders given to him once they knocked the door down, though, which you would have expected that they would have given some type of verbal command and said, "Get down on the floor, put your hands up, get against the wall." None of those things were said.
And the allegation that he tried to attack them with a weapon first through the crack in the door, and then once they got in the house?
I didn't see that. I can't say that it didn't happen, but from the video that I've seen and from what I gathered from the audio, I didn't see where my father attacked them. And he was inside his home. So where was the immediate threat?
What exactly did you hear your father say? He was inside the house as the police are coming inside, and the medical pendant company is recording all of this.
I heard several things on there. One thing you hear is my father pleading with them to leave him alone. Excuse me. You hear him asking them why they doing this to him. He says, "I'm a 68-year-old man with a heart condition. Why are you doing this to me? I know what you're going to do. You're going to come in here and you're going to kill me." You also hear him pleading with the officers again, over and over. And at one point, that's when the expletive is used by one of the police officers.
What did they say?
Where they say, "I don't give a F." And then they use the N-word. And then, as I said, ultimately, they bust down the door. And it hurts because, as I said, it didn't have to go to that point. You also hear the operators from the Life Aid company call the police station and say that they want to cancel the call. Mr. Chamberlain is okay. And at one point you hear the officer there at their central office say, we're not canceling anything. They say, call his son, contact his son, and they say, we're not contacting anyone. We don't need any mediators.
I'd like to bring in Mel Bartlett, because you're not only an attorney for the family in this case, but you are also a former prosecutor in Westchester County. So you're familiar with police procedures in cases like this. I'm struck by the fact that the identity of the police officer involved has not yet been revealed. That's something that's pretty routine in cases like this, but certainly by this time, because we're talking about an event that happened in November.
Absolutely. I think that anybody who lives in the city of White Plains has to ask themselves whether this individual is working right now, and if so, in what capacity. And I think that it's atrocious that that name has not been released, and that the officers involved are not at least on desk duty, some type of modified duty. Looking at it as a former prosecutor, whenever you talk about a use of force, you always look at a use of force continuum, and it's an escalation of force. And generally, police departments have rules and protocols which suggest that you should first start out with a verbal command, if in fact there's even a need to do that. And if that's the least intrusive manner that you can address an issue, and after that it goes generally to a light hands application, and it goes up from there to possibly a baton, pepper spray, possibly a taser. And you use deadly force only when it's necessary to prevent deadly force from being used. And in this case, Mr. Chamberlain didn't have a gun. Mr. Chamberlain, when I saw the videotape, did not have a knife when he was in his apartment. You see a 68-year-old man with no shirt on and boxer shorts and his hands down at his sides, and I didn't see any weapon in his hands there. And the other thing that's troubling to me is the fact that a taser was used at all, because you're there for a medical response. You're not there investigating a criminal act. You are there with the understanding that there may be a person who needs medical assistance.
For a man with a heart condition, no less.
Absolutely. And so if you understand that, to use a taser, which is going to send significant electricity through that person's body, would be at best reckless, and that alone could cause his death. And the thing that's extremely troubling to me is that, again, the police were not there to respond to criminal activity. They went to the gentleman's house at 5 o'clock in the morning to give him assistance. The only reason that he had the Life Aid pendant to begin with was so that his family and that he would be comfortable that if something was to occur, he would be able to get assistance.
I want to read part of the initial news coverage around the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. The headline on the News 12 website read, quote, "Officer fatally shoots hatchet-wielding man." The dailywhiteplains.com website posted an article titled, "Police Fatally Shoot Disturbed Man Carrying Knife." The story begins, quote, "White Plains police say an officer discharged 2 rounds, fatally shooting an emotionally disturbed White Plains man who attempted to bar officers from entering his apartment with a hatchet and then turned towards police with a butcher's knife." Randy McLaughlin, would you respond to this?
Well, first, one of the problems in a wrongful death case like this is you've got a decedent, a person who's dead, and the police initially put out their spin. And that's a spin. That's clearly a spin. The videotape, there's also a videotape of what happened in that hallway. There's an audio tape. There's a videotape of Mr. Chamberlain when they come at him with the taser. This is a clear violation of criminal law and of constitutional rights. In our country, we have a 4th Amendment that says we're supposed to be secure in our own homes. Mr. Chamberlain wasn't attacking anyone. He was in his home. This idea that he attacked anyone with a hatchet is frankly a lie. That's what it is. It's a cover story to cover up what they've done here. And we're meeting with the district attorney this afternoon of Westchester County to press for a full prosecution of the highest crimes in this state. There's a petition, an online petition that Mr. Chamberlain has put out, and we're presenting that petition to her today as well.
It would seem to me that given the fact that they have the audio and the video and they hear their own officers using racial epithets, would immediately say to the brass of the police department, we have a problem here, because that's going to be in court before a grand jury at some point, and that they had a responsibility at that point to begin doing their own investigation of what's going on here.
They have so many problems here. Mr. Chamberlain's niece was in the hallway right at the time when they were banging on the door. She said to them, "I'm his niece." They pushed her away.
She lived upstairs
on the 5th floor. Another officer who was present had a full head-to-toe body shield that could stop bullets. And rather than secure the situation, let's assume for the sake of this discussion that they had a right to see him to make sure he was okay. Okay, so the door's open. You see him there. Why are you entering his apartment? It's kind of like Zimmerman. You provoke a situation, then you respond to it. Oh, I had to use deadly force to protect myself. No, you provoked the situation. You had no right to cross that man's threshold in his home. That's what led to the problem.
Last week, New York State Senator Susie Oppenheimer wrote a letter to Westchester County District Attorney voicing support for an investigation into the killing. She wrote, quote, "I ask that you do everything in your power to ensure that there is a full and fair investigation of this incident and that all relevant information is presented to the grand jury for its consideration." She has so far been the only state legislator to speak out. Is this right, ma'am?
That's correct. And the thing is, I want to follow on what Randy just said in terms of Mr. Zimmerman. I think that this, and I'm not comparing the two tragedies. I don't like to do that. But what I do think is this. Mr. Zimmerman is a private citizen. This is individuals who are acting under color of law. These are people who are employed by the government to give you assistance. So I think that that's even more egregious than an individual who may exercise terrible judgment or have bias in their heart. And I think that it is a travesty that we don't have any reaction from public officials. And if you simply reverse the roles here, if Mr. Chamberlain had shot at a police officer or harmed a police officer, even if it wasn't with deadly force, if an officer ended up having a bloody nose, in all likelihood, Mr. Chamberlain, 68-year-old, 20-year retired corrections officer and a gentleman who served this country in the Marines for 6 years, would have been charged with a felony assault. And we would have heard from all of our elected officials. They would have talked about him probably in disparaging ways. They would have possibly called him an animal, as sometimes people who are alleged to have committed these crimes are referred to.
I'd like to ask you about this issue that they're talking about bringing this case to a grand jury in April. This happened in November. We're talking now 5 or 6 months later that they're impaneling even a grand jury to discuss the fact, not necessarily to, but possibly to charge someone. But it seems to me a long time to wait for even for a grand jury on this.
Well, it is a good amount of time, and part of it is an investigatory process, but it is a long time. And the biggest concern I have with respect to the grand jury is that we do not have an opportunity to present information to a grand jury in New York State. The only person who does that is the district attorney's office. So we can't even determine whether they're going to play the audio tape at all, or if so, whether it's going to be redacted. So we're really stuck with a good faith offering.
All right, y'all. So I just wanted to play that video so y'all can see when I'm saying the things that I say, and other people also are saying these things as well. There is a very big difference in comparison when it comes to when these type of things unnecessary to happen do happen at the hands of any type of law enforcement or organization or group to different, races of people. There is a different way that things get rolled out, that they get reported on, that they get talked about, that they get acknowledged. And so I wanted to show y'all that was from years ago. Now, y'all remember just maybe last year or about 2 years ago? Don't forget this one. And I want to say, y'all, trigger warning or whatnot. But y'all remember this case. You remember what happened in this case, right? And again, it's not to say that the outrage and the response that is happening right now with these two individuals, Renee Good and Pretti, are not warranted. They are warranted. They absolutely are. But we also think equally that responses in this way for this type of footage and coverage to go as viral as it does and as international as it does, it should be warranted to happen when these things happen to anyone despite their race. And so this is just a few little tidbits that I was just throwing in there, and then we're gonna move right along with the live. But do y'all remember when this happened? Let's go ahead and get into this video.
This morning, closing arguments expected to begin in the high-stakes trial of the former sheriff's deputy accused of shooting and killing an unarmed Sonia Massey.
Sheriff's Office!
Sean Grayson taking the stand in his own defense Monday, telling the jury he thought Massey was threatening him the night he and his partner responded to her home near Springfield last year. Massey had called 911 to report a disturbance.
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from the hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Grayson says he took the phrase, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," as a threat, testifying he thought she was going to throw the pot of boiling water on him.
I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
But in body camera video, Massey doesn't raise the pot until after he raises his gun, a key distinction, prosecutors say. He shoots and kills her moments later.
Okay, I'm sorry. Drop the pot. 19 shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Grayson telling the jury he didn't use a taser because he had an older model, and Massey was wearing multiple layers of clothing, saying he didn't want to take the chance of it malfunctioning.
Now, before Grayson took the stand, his partner, who responded to Massey's home with him, said he did not see Massey as a threat before his partner fired his gun. Grayson pleading not guilty to all charges. Closing arguments, guys, could begin later today. Wrapping up soon.
Wow. All right, Matt. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So easy to become a podcast.
All right, y'all. So that was just a quick little rundown, on what happened. And we remember, if you guys remember, and if you paid attention to exactly what happened in the case of Sonia Massey, we also heard another veteran, an elderly man that just simply had a life alert around his neck and it accidentally went off. The two things that are similar in both of those cases is these people were either calling for help purposely or maybe not purposely calling for help, but reaching out to, or the police department, the people that are supposed to protect and serve, were contacted in both of these cases for what is to believe that there was something going on, a issue or something that they needed help and aid and assistance with. Now, the gentleman that we listened to when I showed y'all the first video, his life alert, tag around his neck went off by accident. But still, when that happens, when that life alert goes off, you need help, you need assistance. That's what it's supposed to be there for. And the ones that are supposed to protect and serve are supposed to come and protect and serve and make sure that you're okay. With Sonia Massey, she called because she needed help, because she thought someone was trying to enter into her home or sneaking around her property out her backyard. And she called the officers for protection and help. These are both two Black individuals that now are no longer with us, that have lost their lives because when they have called or accidentally called, but systems were set up in place for them to be able to call police that are supposed to protect and serve, that didn't happen. And now we have not just police officers that are moving and operating this way, but we also are now experiencing that there's ICE officers that are moving and operating this way. And it's not just that they're doing this to certain races of people anymore. This is happening to all of the human race. And so we have to ask ourselves, the people who are put in position to help, and even if you have to detain and do your job, which we understand that, we respect that, we don't want to come at ones who are doing their job properly and doing their job with no animosity in their heart. There are individuals that are doing these said jobs or in these said positions that do not have any love or care in their heart. And now it seems like they don't care what your race is. They just don't care at all. They're just evilness in there. That's what it seems. And so this is what I'm trying to get at, y'all. This is the connection that I'm trying to make. We are moving now in 2026 and seeing that in this world, and you have to be honest about this, there is spiritual warfare at play, because people who are doing these type of things to other humans and other individuals, there has to be a sense of demonicness and evilness within these people to do this. And before we used to say, okay, it's just race-based. Oh, because this person is a certain race, people have a hate towards this race. Now people are going to question, and it's going to open up a can of worms for conversation. Is it really just race-based when people move and operate like this? Or is it that these people are dark and evil and demonic, and they don't care who it is? They don't care your race. They don't care you're a veteran. They don't care your age. They don't care your skin tone. They don't care about any of these things. They're just evil, nasty, and demonic, and they want to hurt and harm people. And this is what is being done. This is what we're bearing witness to. And so this is what I'm saying. This is what makes it more important for us to stick together as a people, because we are human beings. That's it. Our differences should not make a difference as to what type of treatments we get and how people should treat us. And now maybe we can open up that can of worms and have that conversation, that maybe a lot of this stuff is going further than just a deep-rooted hurt, a deep-rooted hurt or a specific hate towards a group or a race of people. It's open game now. And we have to ask ourselves, if it's open game, then where is that energy coming from? It's from dark, evil, demonic, nasty work people that just want to wreak havoc and harm on others. And this is what we're seeing play out. You know what I'm saying? But aside from that, yes, we have to have that uncomfortable conversation that, we were trying to tell y'all this. We didn't know what it was about. At first, we were just like, you know what? These people are racist, they're hateful, they don't like us because we're black. But now we may have to question that. We may have to say, maybe there's just these people out here that are moving and operating that are evil and demonic and nasty work and hate and want to wreak harm and havoc on anyone, despite their race and their skin tone and their color. This is a spiritual warfare that we're also equally dealing with simultaneously with this civil war and the world war that a lot of, we'll say the United States leadership has put us in. And so that's just my opinion, y'all. Y'all don't have to agree with me. I don't know what your thoughts and feelings are behind this, but let's get into our next video for this live. And I want to show y'all, because I also equally feel that within this video, this ties into what I'm saying right now. Okay. Now, this is from Democracy Now! Love Democracy Now! Y'all need to check out their YouTube channel, follow them, and listen to their reporting. I don't know if I'm saying this first name right, but this is a Representative Ilhan Omar. Okay. She was attacked by a man at the Minneapolis town hall after she called for Kristi Noem's impeachment. There was some weird type of substance, liquid substance, that was squirted on her by syringe from this man that just ran up in the crowd and felt as though he could do that. And the courage of this woman to not immediately seek medical help or anything like that. She wanted to finish the message, because the message that she was giving to the people was important, because that message was telling the people to keep their heads up, right? Keep their heads up and keep their hope alive, that we will make it through these things, despite the things that we've been seeing playing out that are evil, nasty, and unfair, that have been happening throughout not just the United States country, but the world. And so let me show y'all a little bit of exactly what happened, what went down. And y'all let me know what y'all think.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Democratic Congressmember Ilhan Omar was attacked at a town hall meeting in Minneapolis Tuesday night. She'd organized the meeting to respond to President Trump's deadly militarized immigration crackdown in Minnesota. A man who'd been sitting in the front row at the town hall rushed at Omar and sprayed her with a strong-smelling liquid from a syringe.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Authorities arrested the attacker, 55-year-old Anthony Kazmierczak. Congressmember Omar insisted on continuing with the town hall after the attack. These are some of the excerpts from the town hall, starting before the attack, then moving into it and playing what happened after.
In the fifth, we oftentimes talk about how important it is for us to go govern together, and I am really delighted for this showing. The level of violence, federal overreach, lawlessness carried out in the name of immigration enforcement is unprecedented. U.S. citizens are being assaulted and detained. Minnesotans are expected to carry their citizenship papers. People are dying in ICE custody. Trump and his paramilitary immigration enforcement will not get away with their unlawful attacks on our state. The Constitution is on our side, and we will fight every single day to defend it. As it's been said, real justice and accountability starts with full, transparent investigation and legal action against ICE, followed by the abolishment of the agency. Renee Good should be alive. Alex Pretti should still be alive. Please, let's take a moment of silence for Alex and Renee. ICE cannot be reformed. It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good. And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. He sprayed something on her.
I need a napkin.
Whatever this smells so bad, she needs to go get checked. I don't know
That's
what that
that's
was.
what they want. Please don't let them know.
It's not about him, Ilhan. Ilhan, it's not about him.
Please.
It's about your safety. No, he sprayed something on you. You need to go get checked. Yeah, it smells terrible.
We're going to keep talking. And like I said, if she does not resign, we are going to introduce articles of impeachment. The children that are afraid to go to schools, the mothers and fathers that are afraid to drop them off, you know, the elderly shop owners at Caramel Mall, they're all citizens. But they don't want the trauma of seeing men with heavy machine guns, because that is who they escaped to come to the United States. They don't want to go through a checkpoint, because that is what they escaped to come to the United States. They don't want a gun drawn on them asking for their identification, because that's what they escaped. It's truly heartbreaking, this moment we find ourselves in. But if we know anything about U.S. history, is that everything is temporary, and we will find our way out of this. So thank you all.
That was Minnesota Democratic Congressmember Ilhan Omar speaking at last night's town hall event in Minneapolis after she was attacked by a man who sprayed her with a strong-smelling liquid from a syringe. Her security tackled him. The man was arrested. Just hours before Congresswoman Omar was assaulted, President Trump openly mocked her during a rally in Iowa.
They have to show that they can love our country. They have to be proud. Not like Ilhan Omar. Did you see that wise guy? You know, she's always talking about the Constitution, provides me with the following. You know, the Constitution, she comes from a country that's a disaster.
The attack on Minneapolis Congresswoman Ilhan Omar comes just days after Florida Democratic Congressmember Maxwell Frost was assaulted by a man during a party at the Sundance Film Festival in Utah. The man was heard making racial slurs at Frost, who is the first Afro-Cuban to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressmember Delia Ramirez, can you respond now to what you are seeing? First, to these attacks, and then we'll talk about what you're calling for.
Look, Amy, it's disgusting and also scary, but the president of this country has weaponized his trolls around the country to put the life of so many of us in danger. I mean, Ilhan is someone who has been serving her community, standing up for her community day in and day out. This man sat somehow in the second row, I think, and then got up and sprayed her something. But I want you to talk about how Ilhan just continued to carry on that town hall and what she said. She has survived more than that, and she will continue to stand up for her community. And nor Trump or any of these vicious, terrible, evil people will stop her from doing that. She should not have to continue to be as strong as she is, but her strength, I think, inspires so many of us to say, we will not stand for this. We need to have the security measures in place. But this is a direct influence of what you're seeing from this president, from Stephen Miller, and from every single person that continues to justify what this president is doing around the country.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
All right, y'all. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you a video that goes in a little bit deeper into some of the response and the commentary around this attack towards Representative Omar. And we're also going to hear a little bit more about Trump's response and how he really was basically just trying to gaslight and deflect and say that he thinks that she staged that to happen. You can't make this stuff up. I promise you guys that we can't. We cannot make this stuff up. But let's go ahead and get into it so we can see exactly how serious it is.
Alex Tabbitt live from Minneapolis. Also with us, former acting ICE chief of staff under President Biden, Deborah Fleischaker, and former federal prosecutor Ankush Kadori. Alex, so many big developments in the past 24 hours. Bring us up to speed on Congresswoman Omar, President Trump, and the latest on the Pretti investigation.
That's absolutely right, Honor. There's so much going on, including this scary incident that occurred last night while Representative Ilhan Omar was holding a town hall event here in Minneapolis. This is what we know, that during that town hall event, a man seated near towards the front row charged towards Omar, attacked her with a syringe and sprayed liquid through that syringe on her. Now, we don't know what was in that liquid. We do know that it had a pungent smell. It was said to have smelled like vinegar. In the moments after, a security guard tackled that man to the ground. Members of Omar's staff tried to convince her to go receive medical attention, but she refused. She wanted to soldier on. She said that she didn't want to let the bullies win. She said, quote, "Please don't let them have this show." Now, the Minneapolis Police Department did arrest that man and identified him as a 55-year-old Anthony Kazmarziak. But of course, the police are still working to figure out what was in that syringe. Now, after this incident, President Trump did an interview with ABC News where he was asked about it. And this is what he said about Ilhan Omar. "No, I don't think about her. I think she's a fraud. I really don't think about that. She probably had sprayed herself knowing her. So President Trump showing no empathy towards one of his favorite punching bags, Ilhan Omar. And this sort of rhetoric comes after the President Trump had previously claimed that he wanted to turn down the temperature here in Minneapolis. I want you to hear what President Trump had to say.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit, but I will tell you, you look at the numbers, they're doing better than they've done in many years because we took thousands of criminals out of Minnesota.
And of course, that claim that he's trying to de-escalate very much at odds with all of the other rhetoric from the president, including attacking the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, this morning, saying that Frey was, quote, playing with fire for refusing to enforce federal immigration laws. In response, Mayor Frey responded to President Trump, writing on X, quote, "The job of our police is to keep people safe, not to enforce federal immigration laws." Anna?
Ankush, the suspect in this attack against Congresswoman Omar has now been booked into county jail, charged with third-degree assault. What would typically happen next in this kind of incident?
Well, look, I mean, if this were, a normal sort of situation where the local folks could put some trust in the federal officials, they would probably want to bring in the federal government because this is an attack on a member of Congress, and it's very disturbing. And it's occurring in a broader environment where there have been increasing threats to public officials, many of which have been sort of egged on by the president. I mean, the most appalling thing about this series, well, not the most appalling thing, but an appalling thing about these events is, Trump's lack of concern. And this is a theme that has sort of run throughout the recent weeks in Minnesota and Minneapolis. At every step of the way, when the administration should be de-escalating, they escalate and they double down. And so, the Minnesota authorities are doing what they should do to try to bring some order to the situation. But ultimately, the chaos here is being driven by the federal government and the lack of care and control over the deployment of federal officials in the state.
All right, y'all. So as you can see, that was a little bit more information into the actual incident that happened and some of the talking points around it. And so just as that ties into some of the videos that I showed y'all previously and prior, there is, unfortunately, there is an underlying race issue and fight and war that is happening here. I believe that. I don't think it's just because someone stands on the left or the right, or they're a Republican or a Democrat. We're watching, and we have watched, especially if you are of said race. A lot of these things happen for years and years and years, and they do get handled differently sometimes, but that was one of the most recent ones. And so if we talk about, give it up, stop talking about this doesn't happen anymore. Race stuff is over. I hear a lot of people saying that, and they get very uncomfortable when we have to have those conversations. But the reason why we still continue to have those conversations is because we still continue to see footage and videos like this. And I'm sorry if you have your opinion, I have mine. My opinion is she was attacked for multiple reasons, not just the fact that she may be going against an administration that is clearly out of hand and out of control. But I think it's also because of her race and her nationality. You clearly can tell that she's Somali, right? And then remember, there was an attack against the Somalian people in Somalia. And so we have to tie all of these things in and make sure that we're paying attention to the facts and the narratives of what is truly happening and why, outside of what's just, the regular basis of what they would want us to think or sell us to think. We have to look into it with our own eyes and our own hearts and our own experiences and understand this is something that, is a war on multiple levels. But anyway, let's take a quick song break, y'all. We'll be right back. After we come back from this song break, we're going to be moving right along to another one of my favorite new channels now. iHip News. We'll be listening from talking points from Jennifer. And they'll be talking as far as on this live. Hold on. They're going StreamYard. We'll be talking about Trump, okay? And the free fall as Miller is iced out of secret meetings and Noem is blaming him. So, child, the people are turning against each other. It's getting real nasty work out here. But that's typically how it happens. We've been bearing witness to this in multiple arenas. Child, you're working together one minute and you're throwing each other under the bus the next. So we'll get into that video in just a moment. Let's take a quick song break and we'll be right back. Thank y'all so much for listening. See y'all in a bit.
Yeah. They thought we were sleeping. Work out! Work out! Work out! Wake up! 1 weekend, Noem lost the Fox and the DHS. She was playing checkers while we're dealing with this mess. Last Pretti in the street, nurse with illegal heat. Holstered in the holster, but they killed them for the feet. Yeah, the surges hitting cities, call it metro, call it war. They're knocking down the Constitution on the bedroom door. Please is split. Massey screaming, what's the price? Noem's on the stand, yeah, she's skating on the ice. They stripped the bill, they removed the clause. No safety for the people, they're breaking all the laws. Rocket in the room, yeah, she's looking at the files. Comers out of time, she's been waiting for the trial. We got boots on the I'm moving through the mist. They want the total surge, we're coming with the fist. Boots on the ground, yeah, the narrative is dead. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. We got boots on the ground, moving through the mist. They want the total surge, we're coming with the fist. Boots on the ground, yeah, the narrative is dead. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. From our FBI senior, yeah, he dropped the bomb. Said bringing home an in is a crisis never calm. It's Mother Levovino, yeah, he's heading for the gate. Ellison is smiling while the judge decides the fate. Not credible, they said, yeah, he lied under the oath, trying to occupy the city. Now we're seeing the growth of the resistance, the persistence. 2-way to the left, unlikely alleys fighting back against the state that sponsors death. Listen close, listen close, listen close, listen close. They removed the ban on deporting the citizens. They're current appearing for the bullets in the prisons. From Minneapolis to DC, the wall is falling down. They can't stop the movement when we're holding down the town. Got boots on the ground, moving through the mist. They want the total surge, we're coming with the fist. Boots on the ground, yeah, the narrative is dead. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. Stay out, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down. The surge is crumbling. We see you. We see it all.
Okay, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this next video. Like I told y'all, we'll be listening to some commentary and conversation between the two cast members on iHip News Network. I've had it basically. I've had it YouTube channel. If y'all haven't checked them out, y'all really got to check them out as well. Please go over there, subscribe, get a membership, and listen to some of their commentary and videos. They are really, really good. One of the reasons what I like about them the most is that they really just keep it real and tell it like it is. And they have no shame in the game. They are going to speak about it in the tone that it needs to be spoke about in. And they will tell you exactly what is going on, how they feel, how they think, and all of those things. So let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of this. And let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. I will meet y'all in the chat.
The murdering, sociopathic fascists are throwing feces all over the White House right now because they shot innocent Americans. And it turns out the American public doesn't like that. And their leader, Donald Trump, is all about optics. He doesn't care about human life. Oh, he does one because her parents were Trumpers. But he cares about the optics. And this administration is getting ripped by like even the New York Post editorial board. And so, of course, the feces throwing has begun. It's the blame game. And number one on the list is we've got to fire Kristi Noem. But interestingly, when they had a little powwow in the Oval, Stephen Miller was sidelined from the powwow. The Daily Beast is reporting Stephen Miller is being sidelined after he was reportedly shut out of a closed-door White House meeting following the killing of Alex Pretti. And then put up the next one, Kylie. Kristi Noem. Mark Caputo tweets, the man behind the Minnesota massacre misinformation is Stephen Miller. Noem, Kristi Noem, the puppy killer, is telling others she feels hung out to dry and was just following White House direction. The officers directly involved in the shooting all shut up and got lawyers real quick, so there wasn't a lot of information. One of the sources briefed on the statement said, under Miller's direction, this is a source, media source of Axios, DHS officials began assembling a statement based on information from others on scene who noted that Pretti had a firearm. Stephen heard gun, Stephen Miller, and knew what the narrative would be. Pretti came up to, quote, massacre cops. A source briefed on the process of assembling the press statement said. Okay, so here's what you got. Heads are going to roll. So obviously, Kristi Noem's a nut, narcissist, not that likable, and not that helpful. Like, so they're like, okay, she's all about her blowouts and costume changes, so let's kick her to the curb. And she's like, listen up, MFers. I did exactly what Stephen Miller told me to do. Well, Stephen Miller is useful to Trump because he does all the heavy lifting on policy that Trump's not interested in at all. All the executive orders, all that stuff. Stephen Miller does all that stuff. And Trump doesn't care that it's depraved. So I think this is a really interesting development because it sounds like if Kristi Noem goes down, she says, Stephen, I'm bringing you down with me.
What if starting a dropshipping business didn't feel so complicated anymore? With AutoDS, everything works in just a few clicks. You import products instantly.
Which would make me so happy. The thing about it is when you hear Greg Bovino talk and Kristi Noem talk, it was immediately clear they were talking off of the same set of guidelines. No one is surprised that Stephen Miller is behind the most sadistic of this behavior. It has been said from jump. He runs the Justice Department. Pam Bondi's a figurehead. Kristi Noem is a figurehead for Stephen Miller. It's his immigration policies. He's trying to act to $3,000 a day. All of those things. What I find so interesting about this is that Kristi Noem says, Phil hung out. Oh, shit. Look at Trump from the start of his life to now. He passes the buck. He throws people under the bus. You're not as important as Stephen Miller. So her feeling out to dry like it's a shock, this day was going to come no matter what.
Yeah. And this is interesting. Last night, Katie Miller started tweeting, and I'm going to read this to you. She says, Miller said the Minnesota operations didn't follow the guidelines established by the White House in the aftermath of January 7th shooting of another Minneapolis demonstrator, Renee. Specifically, Miller said, so basically she is tweeting out an article to do damage control on Stephen. So they know, like, they know, like, if Kristi throws us under the bus, we're fucked. Like, they know this. And so Axios, here's more of that reporting. Put this up. Kristi Noem's language that Alex Pretti wanted to massacre federal agents was dictated to Noem in her department by a man most responsible for the controversial Operation Stephen Miller. So I want to take a pause here to note and to memorialize that typically you do not, in law enforcement or government, you do not make such a claim like that. He was there to massacre law enforcement. This is such a rookie move, but more importantly, Stephen Miller is so out of step with the evolution of what's happened since his boss got reelected. Now, this shit hits hard in the MAGA base, who now I guess is anti-Second Amendment. But the fact that he started making these extraordinary claims, and even the most corporate of corporate news and the most conservative of newspapers, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, called bullshit on all of this because they all saw the videos, is really stunning. But we should never normalize what these Nazis, Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, little Katie Miller, trying to provide cover for him, what they're doing is they are murdering the bravest among us, the best among us that are standing up for the marginalized. Like these are white people that use their privilege to prop up immigrants. And they felt safe because typically white folk in America have been safe from gun violence from law enforcement. Now, Black Americans have not. But you can see as the whole thing unfolds, the last thing they're thinking is they're going to get shot. And so Stephen Miller has to spin this that somehow they're domestic terrorists and they were going to massacre, and nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying it. So he's like, okay, let's throw Kristi Noem under the bus. And she's like, you go down, I go down.
You know, when we were looking at that just now, it reminded me of, remember when Charlie Kirk was murdered, and you have sources within the FBI saying the first thing Dan Bongino and Kash Patel did was, what were they going to post on social media? Yeah. And it goes back to something you said earlier in this episode. Trump doesn't give a shit about human lives. He doesn't give a shit about policy, but he does care about optics. Mm-hmm. And so Stephen Miller, it was not, we need to take hold and figure out why DHS officers are killing people. It was, how can we spin it on social media because Trump sees the optics? And that is a sad state of affairs. And nobody's surprised. Nobody is surprised that Kristi Noem, who shoots her dog and her goat, is going to do exactly.
Thank you for justice for the goat. We always forget the goat.
We always talk about the puppy, Cricket, R.I.P. But where's the goat? But Stephen Miller is so unlikable. He's so unpopular. Even the MAGA people in my life are like, he's so horrible. He's so gross. And it's like Trump just woke up and he's, being marionetted by this guy. They give Trump such a pass. But optics are what matters in this administration. And Trump's mad because the optics are so bad. Again, like you said, he doesn't give a shit about the dead people.
Pouring more into social and search? Michelle just realized that it brings smaller returns with every dollar spent. Other advertisers just like her.
All right, let me throw this in here. So there's Senator Tom Tillis, Republican. A lot of people, this is getting some bipartisan, tension and a lot of press around this, that people need to be held accountable for this. And so when you think about Trump being the strong man and, he's building his ballroom, the bunker, all the stuff, talking about running for another term. He's no intention of leaving the White House. The successors are younger and they're chomping at the bit, right? So I'm wondering, Stephen Miller is going to do whatever he can do to try to manipulate him to stay in the White House. But I wonder if any successors around him, Rubio, J.D. Vance. I don't think Trump likes J.D. Vance as much. I think he prefers Rubio. I wonder if any of them will throw Stephen Miller under the bus, because Stephen Miller seems to have Trump's ear more than any other person. And Lindsey Graham was on Twitter yesterday defending Stephen Miller. I mean, which is a whole psychological case study that we can do when we're not fighting fascism. But I just want to keep a watch on that, because there's no way all these people are friends. There's so much backstabbing and shit that goes on in that administration. So let's just kind of keep a watch on this. Now, listen, listener, this is juicy shit, but I present it in a way that's juicy so we can kind of have some girl talk about it and what's going on with these crazy Nazis. But the big statement here is they're Nazis and they've shot more than just those two people. A lot of people have died in ICE custody. All the people from Alligator Alcatraz are missing. I could start talking about this right now. We would never even hit all of the things that they're doing. So here are just a few things that I saw that I wanted to share. Senator Ossoff had a report chronicling the horrific conditions for mothers and ICE babies. Pop this up, Kylie. The Ossoff report finds widespread allegations of abuse and DHS detainment, including DHS threatening to take babies away from new mothers if they did not sign a voluntary departure form. And this commenter says demonic. And then here's just a guy from France. This was in HuffPost France. This is the coverage we're getting abroad right now, who is trying to get into the United States. And Alex Taylor posts horrific experience of an MBA Frenchman in an ICE migrant center because his visa was delayed. Sleeping on the floor in a cell with 80 people, lights on nonstop, handcuffed, and ankles chained, referred to by a number. He lost 7 kilos in a month. Their aim is simply to break you to pieces. And there's a picture of this French man. And in this post, they put boycott the World Cup. So this is in the French press, you guys, of a French person who comes to the United States and is thrown in a cell with 80 other people and starved out and shackled. Like, and then we're like, we're the shiny city on the hill. We're democracy. This is unbelievable. Using somebody's baby as leverage to get them to sign something. Somebody whose visa's delayed, you're locking them up for 80 days and barely feeding them. Sleep deprivation. And then there's this final one, and I'll get your take on it, Pumps. A man dies in ICE custody. Kylie, pop this up. Another death in ICE custody. Still no answers, no acknowledgement, no accountability. Too many people are losing their lives. Close the camps. And then here's the report. 41-year-old Haitian man dies just one day after entering ICE custody at Newark's Delaney Hall. 41 years old, black man, dead within 24 hours. And I mean, the only thing this man's done wrong is being black in America. The Frenchman, got out and got to get back to France probably because he's white. Their job is to break you, and they simply do not care about the deaths or the torture. And more than anything, you guys, Trump's friends, the private prison industry complex is making billions off of this, billions off of incarcerating and torturing people. There was a CEO of one of these companies that said, we need to think about this like Amazon, moving bodies through these prisons like Jeff Bezos does packages. So it's not just Miller. There's a whole network, just like there was in Nazi Germany, of apologists and people that go along with this shit and okay it. And I say to France, do it, boycott the World Cup. Do not come here. It's a shit show. It is an absolute shit show.
When you were reading that in the description of the ICE facility, Kristi Noem standing at CCOT in front of that cell, that's what hit my brain. Like, she went down there, saw how deplorable the conditions were, how it dehumanized people and how cruel it was. And she came back and said, that's what I want. I mean, these are not people with normal empathy. I mean, obviously that's master of the obvious. Thank you so much. But it is so stunning. In the United States of America, you have media outlets, Fox, other right wing, that are defending the killing of an American citizen. They're tying themselves up in knots. They're, no Second Amendment. Yes, we want the Second Amendment. All those things. When they defended Kyle Rittenhouse with the gun situation, they are demonizing these people, these American citizens. They have dehumanized and treated so cruelly immigrants. They were throwing tear gas at a preschool.
Yes.
You cannot defend these people. It is indefensible. And if you are defending these people, the problem is you. And I do see the polling, he's underwater on all this. He ought to be in fucking prison. Stephen Miller needs to be in prison. Kristi Noem, don't impeach her. Throw her ass in jail. Greg Bovino saying these are crimes. They are committing criminal acts. And anybody that is sitting there saying, oh, well, we just need reform and this and that. It's like, you're not getting it. You're not understanding. You're not watching the video like we are. It is disgusting. It is chilling. It is 1930s Germany all over again. And we're sitting here sounding the alarm, and so many people are not hearing it. And it makes me want to scream.
Yes. And I just do want to add, because it's really important that.
How do you give your book the best chance to succeed in 2025? If you've written a book and you're thinking about publishing it, you have.
On Black Twitter right now and in Black circles, they say, can you believe, when you hear white people say, can you believe this is happening in the United States of America? So the dehumanization that's going on is just now impacting white people. And this has been going on this whole time in this entire country towards specifically Black people. And, now they're focused on immigrants as well. That man that died, 2 migrants in detention, 1 French, 1 Haitian. Guess who lives? The white French guy. And so the dehumanization of Black people has been an American problem. And it goes back to the moral problem of, if you leave somebody vulnerable, you leave everybody vulnerable. And so in leaving our Black population vulnerable and allowing police to shoot them and then blaming them for, don't resist when they're clearly not resisting, and all of the over policing instead of enriching these communities, the dehumanization of the Black community, in my mind, facilitated and incubated this moment, because for them, the government's always been fascist, liars, right? 2 different, look at the cocaine versus crack cocaine sentencing disparities. Crack cocaine used by Black people, cocaine used by white people, and look at the federal sentencing guidelines of those 2 things. And so I just think that we have to always acknowledge that, because I think white people have got to wake up and acknowledge that, because there's nobody that can organize and help beat this and make progress like Black people can. They've been organized since the very beginning of the Trump thing, and they took out Target already this year. Yeah. They are. And so we need to partner with them and put our hands and arms around them as our brothers and sisters in America, and quit allowing these right-wingers to exploit them for whatever talent they want to be entertained by, and then kicking them and their rights and everything to the curb. All right, that's all we have for this episode. Another great day in America. Please like, subscribe. We'll be back later with more news.
All right, y'all. So now we're going to go ahead and get into this next video. I'm going to show y'all, because remember what we said, and as you heard their talking points, like, these people are all over the place. They don't know whether they're going left, right, up, down. We can't be sure. But when a lot of stuff starts to fall out, child, and the kitchen gets hot, these people start throwing each other under the bus. They do. They have no loyalty for one another. So we've got to, consider that they definitely don't have loyalty for us. But let me go ahead and show y'all this video real quick. So this is Kristi Noem, that is basically throwing Miller under the bus and blaming everything on him. Let me go ahead and show y'all this breakdown real quick. Child, you cannot make this stuff up. But hey, you know what? Let them eat themselves alive. Let them eat themselves up. It's less work that we have to do as the activists and the individuals that's trying to point this stuff out, get these people out of office, because Lord, they have got to go. But anyway, listen to this video real quick, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up on the screen. Of course, this is from Adam Mockler, and this is Kristi Noem panics and blames Stephen, however he says his name, Miller, for everything that is happening in Minneapolis and Minnesota. So let's go ahead and get into that video real quick, y'all, and we'll be right back. This thing's moved so slow, y'all. My bad. All right, here we go. Finally got it. Okay. All right, y'all. Listen to this.
Out between top officials within the Trump administration as they figure out who they can scapegoat
regarding the botched, god-awful response to the execution of 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretti. Immediately after the shooting, top Trump officials came out using incendiary rhetoric saying that Alex was trying to massacre people, that he was essentially a bloodthirsty domestic terrorist. Now, Trump admin officials are backing down off of that type of rhetoric and saying they're waiting for the investigation to happen, which is it's good, but it's too little too late. You guys came out and defamed him. You basically kicked his dead body an hour after he was shot by your goons, and now they're trying to blame each other. At first, Kristi Noem was thrown under the bus. She's getting reassigned from interior enforcement over to the border. Then Greg Bovino got demoted. Trump thought that was going to be enough, but we were looking for more accountability. So Kristi Noem told people behind the scenes that she got that language from Stephen Miller, actually. She's trying to blame it on Stephen Miller. Now, Stephen Miller is the one that leads the most extreme policy within the Trump admin. But at the end of the day, this is Trump's administration. He creates the permission structure. He chose these people. He handpicked these people and gave them the instructions to be as incendiary as possible. So it is Trump's fault. It is Stephen Miller's fault. And yes, Kristi Noem, it is still your fault. You are a grown woman, even if you want to say that the language came directly from Stephen Miller. Kristi Noem's language that Alex Pretti wanted to, quote, massacre federal agents was dictated to Noem and her department by the man most responsible for the controversial operation, Stephen Miller. That's according to 4 sources who spoke to Axios. And now Kristi Noem is trapped in a corner due to her botched operation. Senator Thom Tillis, a Republican senator, says he's giving President Trump a terminate recommendation for Secretary Kristi Noem's job. Listen to the scathing letter written by a Republican. Remember, a Republican. Quote, she's proven that she doesn't know how to lead, how to de-escalate. She's exposing ICE officers to dangerous situations. She's exposing U.S. citizens to deadly situations. And instead of actually stepping back and being calm, she tells the president, as did Stephen Miller shortly after the shooting, before anybody could have gotten any on-scene information, that he was a terrorist. What sort of judgment is that for somebody who's running a very consequential, important organization? And I haven't even talked about the C and D in failing grades that she's getting on the Helene response. Kristi Noem getting eviscerated by a Republican senator there. Let me point out how abnormal it is for a Republican who voted to confirm Kristi Noem to then come out and say, wait a minute, Kristi Noem needs to be terminated and removed immediately. But even Thom Tillis, even this Republican senator, has trouble with the blame game. He blames Stephen Miller. He blames Kristi Noem. He says they lied to the president, essentially, about this person being a terrorist. No, it is all of their fault, but Donald Trump is the president. Stephen Miller is higher up in the chain than Kristi Noem. I could believe that Kristi Noem was just repeating what Stephen Miller said, but that does not mean that Kristi Noem is out. Then Thom Tillis said Kristi Noem should be fired. When asked if he has confidence in her, Tillis replied, not at all. Moments after, the largest federal employee union called for Noem and Stephen Miller to resign. Wow. The American Federation of Government Employees, the largest federal employee union, which also represented Alex Pretti, issued a statement Monday night calling for the resignation of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Stephen is the one leading this extreme policy. Dem effort to impeach Noem gains 50 co-sponsors right after that. Representative Robin Kelly put this on the House about a week ago. She said Tuesday she now has 162 co-sponsors on her effort to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. That is 50 more since Alex Pretti was killed. I want to show you like the 2 minutes that Kristi Noem wrecked her career. Look at this clip alone has 3.9 million views. These are the 2 minutes in which Kristi Noem.
Scribe is how you stop explaining the same thing over.
Her entire career.
Thank you so much for doing this, and would welcome also any other guidance from Chief Scott. Did the 37-year-old who had a license to carry, did he brandish a gun? And at what point did law enforcement retrieve the gun and also the magazines from him? Can you offer clarity on
this
where
individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers? They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. This is a violent riot when you have someone showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers.
Because video appears to show he's disarmed before shots are fired. So I just want clarity on that. And beyond that, I just want to follow up and ask who within the federal government is leading the criminal investigation, understanding that CBP OPR has opened up an internal investigation. And beyond that, why did federal agents tell Minneapolis Police Department to leave the scene?
We're continuing to follow the exact same protocols that we always have. And so this investigation is ongoing. We're continuing to gather the facts as they unfold throughout that.
You just listed a bunch of declarative facts that he was trying to attack people. This is why Kristi Noem fell face first. Face planted. This is why everyone's calling for her resignation, because she jumped to these conclusions. I mean, on this note, a federal judge just an hour ago blocked the removal of a 5-year-old Minnesota boy. This is just a crazy effing headline to even have to read. The judge blocked the removal of a 5-year-old boy who was about to be separated. Just absolutely wild. To continue, Donald Trump then gets asked, hey, some of your own officials have labeled Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist. Donald Trump says, without any prompt, just says, that's ABC fake news.
President, some of your own administration officials have labeled Alex Pretti.
By the way, this is ABC fake news, this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead. What you say? I'd say ABC's about as bad as they get.
I don't even know how to, I know how that reporter must feel. I've done these conservative debates, like the bar fights, where I'm debating a whole crowd of MAGA, and you'll say something or ask something very common sense, and they'll all boo and hoot and holler like you're the one that's wrong, and it feels like you're being gaslit. So she literally just goes, hey, some of your officials have labeled Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist, and he starts to rile up the crowd, and they're all laughing at her like she's the one that's in the wrong. Dude, Stephen Miller literally tweeted out, a domestic terrorist tried to assassinate federal law enforcement, and this is your response. You can almost hear him saying this. Like, imagine he's saying this in a snooty way on CNN. A domestic terrorist tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. He's always screaming out of his mind. But here's a scoop. Blame game erupts over Trump team's false claim that Alex Pretti sought a massacre. The blame game comes, again, between Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller. Who did what? We're also learning that Stephen Miller is looking increasingly isolated inside the White House. Get this, because others are starting to realize that deliberate, concerted, ethno-nationalist brutality and sadism is hurting Republicans politically. Here's the reality. Here's my read of it. Stephen Miller is much more dangerous than Donald Trump because Stephen Miller is actually ideological. Stephen Miller has ethno-nationalist, sadist view on the world. Trump is only motivated by narcissism and status and money and legacy. He wants a good legacy. He doesn't actually care of like which race is dominant. He doesn't actually care at the end of the day if the United States is this religion or that a religion. He's not even religious. He just uses that as a means to an end to gain legacy. Stephen Miller, on the other hand, he has this concerted effort. So Stephen Miller has becoming increasingly isolated as he's pushing for aggressive immigration enforcement. And everyone else is kind of telling him to back off. Donald Trump himself is even backing off. I'm going to leave it there. If you appreciate these videos, drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Traditional dropshipping is dead. What we need to do is register with AutoDS, the quickest, easiest, newest.
All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and take a really quick song break again, and then we're going to get into our final videos for the live. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me. We're going to be getting into one of the last ones that I have to play for y'all. And this is going to be basically a little bit more about Stephen Miller, okay, and some of the responses when it comes to Pretti's unaliving. We're also going to get into a comedy video at the very end from none other than Hughley, and he has a lot of things to say about Kristi Noem, and he's the one that came up with Kristi Noem will be if lying was a sport, Kristi Noem would be a gold medalist. So that statement came directly from him. We're going to get into that. I'm going to let y'all hear just exactly how he said it. But let's go ahead and take a quick song break, and we will be right back, guys.
simple peace, a righteous way to live. These are the needs, the bedrock and the basic, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screen is screaming, selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. We are human, blood and bone and soul, the right to be loved, the right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. Pictures twisted and unreal, teaching our children how they ought to feel. Their values in the label on your shoes, or the filter life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow, and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Me out, yo, check the vision. The mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mighty given the sword. So we teach about the history, teach about the grace, teach about the power, every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with the right to be made, the right to be whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. A world where every voice is heard and valued, and truth is not a whisper but a mighty thundering word. A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease. This ain't just a track, it's a call to action for every mother, father, every single fraction of the community, holding it down on the ground, time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter, tell them their spirit's something to know like a shadow, tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We're gonna grow in this field. Yeah. Oh, yes we are. Oh, near and far. Let them know the sacred word for every single soul on this earth. Human, right to live. Human, a gift to give.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this next video here. And this video that I'm gonna play for y'all is from CNN. And so basically the title of this video is The Pretti Shooting and How Stephen Miller Admits Possible Protocol Breaches. And so we have some reports on that. Let's go ahead and hear a little bit of what he had to say on that. And then after that video, we'll get into the last one, where we'll hear some words from DL Hughley and some comedy as well. So we'll end it with a little bit of humor, but yet, you know, intellect at the same time. So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all, and we will be right back.
Trump administration, while the president says things in Minneapolis are going to, quote, de-escalate a bit. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, the president's powerful advisor, are taking heat over the deadly shooting of Alex Pretti and their statements after it. Miller described Pretti as a would-be assassin. Noem described him as a domestic terrorist. The videos clearly refuted those claims, and now Noem is facing growing bipartisan calls to resign, and Miller, in a rare retreat, is acknowledging agents may have breached protocol that he set, or the White House set, before the shooting. With us now, CNN's Betsy Klein and Jeff Zeleny. And first, I just want to hold up a flow chart, friend, of my understanding of the blame game here. There you can see, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is blaming Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller seems to be blaming Customs and Border Protection. Betsy, you're at the White House. Do I have that flow chart correct?
I think that's about an accurate assessment, John. And I just want to point to you to this very remarkable statement to our colleague Kristen Holmes from Stephen Miller yesterday. As you said, in the immediate aftermath of federal agents' killing of Alex Pretti on Saturday, we heard Stephen Miller go to social media almost immediately. He referred to Pretti as, quote, a domestic terrorist, also a would-be assassin. And you can believe that he was behind a lot of the messaging that was coming from this White House. But then last night, in this statement to our colleague Kristen Holmes, he says, quote, the White House had provided clear guidance to DHS that the extra personnel that had been sent to Minnesota for force protection should be used for conducting fugitive operations to create a physical barrier between the arrest teams and the disruptors. He goes on to say, we are evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following that protocol. He also says that some of the original statements that were coming from the Department of Homeland Security were, quote, based on reports from CBP on the ground. So clearly shifting blame there, and notably not disputing that he was involved in those statements.
But not apologizing for them either, correct, Betsy?
Absolutely right.
Okay, and that's important because he said those things. He's blaming now CBP for giving him the information that led to those statements, but he is not apologizing. Jeff, bigger picture here, when you take a step back, this is very unusual from this Trump administration, or any Trump administration for that matter. They have really conducted now about 3 retreats in the last week by my count. First on Greenland, first the idea, no military action, definitely going to own it now. Maybe not so much. The president had to backtrack on saying NATO troops weren't on the front lines in Afghanistan, and now clearly backing off a little bit in Minneapolis. That's a lot different than we've seen before from this administration, Jeff.
John, it absolutely is. It's not only unusual, it just hasn't happened, particularly on immigration. Look, this was intended to be a strength for President Trump. It always has been. It's one of the things that's helped get him elected in the first place back in 2016 and certainly reelected in 2024. Now immigration is viewed by Republicans as a weakness for this administration. That explains the flow chart that you were pointing out earlier. Stephen Miller isn't doing this simply because he's suddenly had a change of heart. He's doing this because even a few Republicans, a small but growing number of Republicans, are beginning to confront and challenge and question this administration. It is all coming, of course, as the very...
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking.
As the very mission in Minnesota is being reviewed. And it's a funding review from ICE, of course. It could lead to a government shutdown at the end of the week. We shall see. But Stephen Miller knows the president is unhappy about this. That's why he is sort of backpedaling here. But the bigger picture, it's not just optics here. Is policy actually going to change? And that is very much unclear. One huge difference from this administration versus the first Trump administration, he's very reluctant to fire anyone. In the first administration, people were being fired all the time, week by week. That has not happened. So I do not expect any firings here, but this is a dramatic change of a position here. And keep your eye on Stephen Miller. He's viewed as a liability in some circles here. He's very close to the president. I don't expect him to go anywhere. But that statement that Betsy was reading is extraordinary because we have never seen a retreat like that from him.
Yeah, and Betsy, just, I'll hold up the flow chart once again since Jeff just celebrated it here. Where's the president in this flow chart? Who exactly does the president blame among these 3 choices?
Well, I think the president's message here is that he's trying to de-escalate. He is trying to, we've seen him even talk to Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob fry in the aftermath. And the president now is essentially saying that those calls are cordial and constructive. But when we ask if this is a substantive or a symbolic change, the White House is still actively blaming Democrats. We heard from Caroline Leavitt saying that this is a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat officials, blaming the Pretti killing on Democrats. But the question is going to be, what is the change on the ground in Minneapolis here? And President Trump is appearing to indicate that there might be some more substantive changes. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, based on how Tom Homan has described the conversations with Tim Walz and the mayor there, and they both have described it, there is a bit of substantive difference there, merely in the dialogue. And very quickly, Jeff, while I still have you here, Republicans on Capitol Hill, how far do you think they're willing to take their criticism?
Well, we will see. I mean, it's a growing number, but it's still a very small number of people. But I think the Senate Majority Leader John Thune was interesting yesterday. He called this an inflection point. So everyone is calling for an investigation and more oversight into ICE. Again, that is not something we saw after the Renee Good shooting. So this is a different moment. There is no doubt about it. But again, to Betsy's point, will policies change on the ground? Again, what was a strength for the administration is now a political weakness.
A lot of fingers being pointed over the Trump administration's false claim that Alex Pretti, the man fatally shot in Minneapolis, was out to massacre federal agents, an accusation just not supported by the video we've all seen. Multiple sources suggested to Axios that the language came from the president's hardline advisor, Stephen Miller, with one source saying, quote, Miller gun and knew what the narrative would be. Pretti came to massacre cops. Miller, for his part, said, quote, any early comments made were based on information sent to the White House through Customs and Border Protection. With us now is Mark Caputo, the senior politics reporter for Axios, who really broke this story yesterday. Mark, as always, I'm really excited to talk to you since you were out so far in front of this story. I put together a little flow chart based on your reporting here of who is being blamed and how inside the White House and inside the administration. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is blaming Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller appears to be blaming Customs and Border Protection. Do I have that correct?
I mean, generally, what I do know is that Noem is feeling the heat, obviously on Capitol Hill and elsewhere. And she's told people, and I'm told she also told the president, look, everything I've said is because of what I've been told to say and do by the president and Stephen Miller. And as you pointed out, Miller is saying that statement that was released came because of on-the-ground reports from CBP. And specifically what you're hearing more people in the White House start to say is the bad guy in all of this, and I'm putting bad guy in air quotes, is Greg Bovino, who was the commander, the cowboy, in the words of one person, who was in charge of this, let's call it a shambolic operation that resulted in the deaths of 2 people and the shooting of a total of 3 in a month.
Yeah, there are 2 separate things I think we should point out here that Miller now seems to be saying to you and others. Number one, that CBP, that the officers on the ground broke some kind of protocol, some kind of instructions they'd been given by the White House about how they were supposed to behave, actually enforce the law. But also Miller is saying that he was told perhaps misleading stuff by CBP. Those are 2 things, but are those both directionally what Stephen Miller is saying now?
Yeah, that's correct. According to the White House, according to Miller, there is a protocol that they had developed where these teams, these squads that would go on these immigration raids or to execute these warrants or find, in their words, these criminal aliens, would be divided in 2. One group would do crowd control to stop what they called the disruptors, and the other would go and do the arrests. And according to them, on this fateful day, on Saturday, that just sort of devolved into chaos, and none of that took place. And obviously, in the background of this, there have been other videos, other cases of pretty egregious policing that had happened under Bovino. Specifically, there was the young man at Target, the Target worker who was pushing around grocery store carts, got in some sort of jawboning incident with these agents. They tackled him, they kind of beat him, they shoved him in a van, and they dropped him off nearby. Stuff like that did start to really rankle at the president, and finally the president made his change on Monday.
Yeah, I was going to say, so based on your reporting, if we have this chart of the blame game, where does the president fit here? As far as you can tell, who is the president blaming for all this?
He's not really blaming anyone. It's just one of those sort of, hey, things sort of happen and let's move on. One of the things the president doesn't want to do is communicate a weakness that he's backing off. And in that under that umbrella is the idea that he needs to make a change. So let's just be very clear. Kristi Noem, from all of the information we're getting and from all the observations that we've made collectively as the news media and those of us who cover the White House specifically, Kristi Noem is staying. And so is Stephen Miller, his longest serving political advisor from Trump 1, architect of the immigration plan, a guy with encyclopedic knowledge of immigration law, who really sort of represents a lot of the hardline policies that Trump at heart really does enjoy.
And then just very quickly, any bit of reporting that you've done that indicates that Noem or Miller or anyone might apologize for the statements that they made just after this incident happened on Saturday?
I have gotten no indication of that. We've asked if, hey, do you want to issue at least some sort of correcting information? And so far, the answer to that has been no.
Mark Caputo, as I said, great reporting on this. You were out in front with this yesterday. Really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Stop buying courses, and I want to do it.
All right, y'all. So now we're going to go and get to our final video here that I wanted to show you guys from DL Hughley. And it is comical, but nothing about this stuff is, it's like, it's not really funny, but sometimes you have to take it with a dose of comedy because it's very heavy. A lot of this stuff that's happening and we're bearing witness to is very heavy. And so sometimes when you get it with a dose of comedy, it doesn't make it as heavy as it really is, but I think also, a lot of comedians have a lot of intellect as well. And so, they can come and report a story to you or talk about you about a serious situation, but also add in a sprinkle of that comedy and that, magic sauce that they have. So let's go ahead and get into this video real quick, y'all. So this is basically, and he's talking about Kristi Noem. He basically is saying, if lying was a sport, child, I guess Kristi Noem would be probably one of the MVP athletes. Child, it was hilarious when I heard him say it. So let's go ahead and get into this real quick, y'all, and we'll end the live here after this. Hold on, let me put.
She just lies so effortlessly. But obviously, anybody who wears that much makeup has an aversion to the truth. One dude said she lied with a straight face. How could you tell? No one's ever seen her face. That is thick as hell. She must put it on with a putty knife. I can't tell if that's foundation or spackle. She literally catfishes herself. Anybody that would lie to the mirror ain't got no problem lying to the minions. So far this year, ICE has killed 9 people. 9. At this pace, it'll be well over 100. Now, the murder rate is dropping all across America. It's dropping everywhere. But right now, ICE is more dangerous than Compton. If they keep this shit up, they're going to get an episode of First 48. So the surge originally, the premise of the surge was that Minneapolis was rife with corruption, that the Somali population was committing fraud among the daycares. So they sent federal law enforcement in, Border Patrol and the like. And then we have all this upheaval. We have had American deaths. We have heard turmoil. We've had families tear gassed. We've had clashes with law enforcement. We've had violent arrests. After Alex Pretti's death and the ensuing upheaval, the Attorney General of the United States of America, Pam Bondi, basically told Minnesota that this would all stop if they gave them their voter rolls. So it started, this surge was allegedly because of fraud. It turned into this melee that we see unfolding before us. And at the end of it, the Attorney General of the United States of America, in order for this to go away, to restore law and order. They want the voter rolls in Minneapolis. This is not me. This is verifiable. You can verify for yourself. The definition of terrorism is the calculated use of violence or the threat of violence to induce fear, to either coerce or intimidate governments and or societies. It is the violence or the threat of violence to get what you want. That is terrorism. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what is playing out right now. All of this upheaval, and what will make it go away is if you give us your voter rolls.
All right, y'all. So that's just a little bit of comedy with a little bit of truth, okay? So we have reached the end of the live, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and end it per usual with a bop. And I'm going to talk to y'all on the next one. I hope y'all enjoyed the live, and I hope everybody has a good rest of the evening or night, morning or afternoon, whatever respectful time zone you're in. Thank you so much for rocking with me, y'all. I'm going to talk to y'all on the next live. We got some more things, of course, we got to get into. All right, y'all. This is Golden, and I'm out. Bye.
They thought we were sleeping, but the spirit is moving. One weekend only lost the Fox in the DHS. Yeah. She was playing checkers while we dealing with this mess. And it's pretty in the street, nursed with illegal heat, hosted in a holster, but they killed him for the feast. They stripped to the cities, call it metropolitan war. You're knocking down the Constitution on the bedroom door. BOP is split, master screaming, what's the price? Juana Luma's on the stand, yeah, she's skating on the ice. Can I get a witness? They stripped the bill, they removed the clause. Crockett in the room, she's following the laws. Can I get a time? Yeah, he's feeling on the floor. They want the total search, we're coming with the fist. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. They want the total search, we're coming with the fist. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. Senior, yeah, he dropped the bomb. Said bringing home an in is a crisis never calm. Gestapo Greg Bofino, yeah, he's heading for the gate. Ellison is smiling while the judges test the fate. Not credible, they said that he lied under the low. Trying to lock the Canada City low. Don't sit in the global resistance, persistence. To wait to the left, unlikely allies fighting back against the state responsibility.